On a slide entitled The Plagues, we see some information on the plagues that appear in the later chapters of Revelation. One of the things you notice off the top as you first begin to look at this material on plagues is that they resemble the plagues that God sent to Egypt to convince the Egyptian leadership to allow the Israelite slaves to leave and go to their own land. So you've got that imagery already in the back of people's minds as this passage goes on. These plagues represent God's punishment on the Roman Empire for failing to accept the deity and lordship of Jesus. Instead, those same terms are used of the emperor itself in Roman society and in other places. So the Christian message is rather countercultural to a society in which emperor worship was widespread. The plagues are a punishment on the Roman Empire for emphasizing the divinity of the emperor rather than the divinity of Jesus, according to the author of Revelation. There are 7 plagues in this case, and 7 again is a complete number. So the plagues that these people suffered were absolutely and totally complete in their misery and devastation. There are evil spirits at work in this story, and they assemble the kings of the earth at a place called Harmageddon. Harmageddon is called the Hill of Megiddo, which is a place where many, many battles had been fought. It's not some place out in heaven or out in the spirit world. It's actually a physical place. And in Jewish literature, many battles took place at Harmageddon, or what we call Armageddon. Now, because of this, that imagery is retained in Revelation. The image of a final battle would be appropriate nowhere else than at Harmageddon or Armageddon. So that is where the final battle takes place. Although it doesn't even seem to actually be won. If you keep on reading, there's more and more battle and scuffle to it before you get to the end of the book, where it speaks of new heaven and a new earth. Now, the rest of the slides that I have on this slide show presentation are examples of other apocalypses. So I wanted everybody to be able to see how they started, what it looked like in Revelation, and then later on in the genre when people started writing other apocalypses, specifically those which involve Jesus and or his followers. You'll see one in the Apocalypse of Peter, where people are being punished in a way that is reminiscent or appropriate for the kinds of sins that they were guilty of during their lives. In another writing called A Dialogue of the Savior, you see Jesus having a discussion after his resurrection with his followers so that they can ask him some questions, clarify some things that they weren't sure about. Again, that is a revelation that people have of a divine being, and it is written in the form of an apocalypse. The other writing that I wanted to point out is another apocalypse called The Questions of Bartholomew, or the Gospel of Bartholomew. In this particular scene from that apocalypse, Satan is bound up by God, and the followers of Jesus, some of them are able to approach Satan safely and have a dialogue with him about the nature of what has happened to him. He rejected the image of God, and Bartholomew says, "Show me all the things and hide nothing from me." And Satan says to him, "I swear unto you by the power of the glory of God that even if I would hide, I cannot, for he is near that would convict me. For if I were able, I would have destroyed you like one of them that were before you." In other words, Satan has been the force behind the persecution and execution of Christians in the past, and this book seems to indicate that ongoing and future persecutions of Christians will also be through the agency of Satan.